Yes.
Yes, and
Hi, welcome everyone. I'd like to call this workshop meeting to order. Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Dr. Yanni, can you start with your superintendent's report?
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to a new school year. It is refreshing to have all the students back. The best part of our job is to see their smile, even through the mask, when they interact with one another and they are in school. It was nice to see the shiny floors and all the classrooms, the setup, and all the brand-new backpacks. That's the best part of the day, when you have the little kindergarten coming in, the first grade, second grade. We already had 2 football games and many practices, all the sports. Today I was visiting the tennis team, and it's nice to have everybody back. Just a couple of things, quick update before I go into my presentation of the goals for the 21-22 school year. As you heard probably in the news, there is a district, there is a shortage of bus drivers in many districts. The bus company has been working with us, and they've been doing an amazing job keeping us posted in the morning. So we receive emails around 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, that we have buses. In the event that a bus is delayed, we put a process in place where we will notify the bus route, so the parents are fully aware of what's going on. So I thank you for your cooperation and your patience with that. We posted on the website what we call a chain of communication. We believe that it's very important to receive feedback, to have questions answered when you have a question. So the chain of communication has a list of academic and non-academic issues. So if there is a problem, you just follow the chain and just keep going. Within 24 hours, you should have an answer. And our staff is amazing in terms of getting back to you. But if things are delayed, you just keep going down the list. In terms of open schoolhouse, we have a virtual one. So parents will have an opportunity to, at home, at their own time, to view the video. And if you have any questions for the teachers, you can certainly call and follow up. I know this is not the board didn't vote on the agenda, but tonight we have 2 appointments, 2 teachers. They're going to joining us. I have Virginia Kemp, so I want to not congratulate you yet, but we're very proud to have you, and Alex Herbert as a business teacher at the high school. So I'll congratulate both of you at the end and wish you many, many years of success at Oyster Bay, East Norwich School District. In terms of the goal, and I'm going to ask Brian to put up the goal presentation. The Board of Education every year creates goals for us to work on it during the year. Empowering all students to achieve excellence is our vision, and the goals are just the steps that we take to get there. But before I do go over the goals that we have for this year, I just want you to understand and remind you that no matter what goal we have in place, no matter what goals we're implementing or program we're implementing, our goal is to make sure that our students learn in a safe environment and that every child in school is treated like one of ours. And I think that the entire administrative team, the teachers, the support staff, custodial, everybody, they're doing a fantastic job with that every single year. And certainly I've seen since January tremendous support during this critical times that we have, hopefully put behind us, but still around. So I'm going to go over the goals, and so as you can see, can you hear me? Okay. So when you look at the goals, the vision has been pretty much consistent, and is empowering all students to achieve excellence. And what we mean by empowering is almost provide them with all the possible opportunities. Sometimes we don't know what the future is going to look like, but we know that if we believe in them and we ask them to be creative, that is something that definitely can allow students to be even more successful. When you look at the categories, this year...
Yeah, Dr. Yanni, I don't think they can hear you online.
Online, okay.
Okay.
Maybe I can use that microphone? How about you guys say that? Okay. So when we look at the goals, right, we divided the goals into 3 sections this year. And we believe that dividing into those 3 sections, it really defines the work that we do to empower the students, and divided into student achievement, the finance and operation, and the community. Those 3 categories combined together, it gives us gives us an opportunity to really focus on the success of every child. So when you look at the student achievement, you see that in the first bullet, we have, and we will post this presentation online, and the goals will also be posted online. When we review the data, we want to make sure that the data is reviewed effectively, so any change, any implementation, any support is done the right way by looking at the data, by looking at what we have in front of us. And the idea is to look at the graduation rate and to increase that graduation rate. Obviously, we can always do better, and we can always move up to the next level and benefit from all the work that has been going on for many years. So increase that graduation rate based on the data and the support. The second one is we're looking at all the assessments, the advanced Regents, the AP exams, the Regents exams, the assessment 3 to 8, and make sure that there is a full participation. When you look at the state and the way the state is looking at the data and the way the state is analyzing our district, that's critical. And the participation is one of the data points that is essential for us to be rated the way we should be rated. Our students are very smart, our teachers are very supportive, and it's important that they are recognized for the work that they do. It would be really unfair that our students are not recognized because participation rate in a 3 to 8 assessment is not where it should be. When you look at the next one, we did a lot of work with the guidance. We did a lot of work with the guidance department, and one of we made some major changes, structural changes, and also caseload for the different guidance counselors. So what we want to do every time there is a change like that, we want to make sure that the change was done effectively, and there is never a perfect change. But there is always an opportunity to go back and say, okay, what didn't work, what can we do better? But it's important that we go back and analyze the new guidance structure. The second one is the finance. Obviously, tonight I'll also presenting on the bond presentation, and you will see that in the bond presentation, the bond referendum is something that we have talked about it for a while. And I think this would be an opportunity to bring our facilities to where it should be, and bring the facility to a point that 15 years from now, taking advantage of the fact that the debt service is coming to an end, that 15 years from now, we have a school that is up to par with the learning and what learning should be in the 21st century. The second piece is we're looking at the expenditure, both short-term and long-term expenditure, to have an effective budget, so the resource is going directly to the students, and that's critical. We also continue to strategically advocate to allow taxpayer not to have a burden in terms of the tax increase, and we've been working with the senators, we've been working with local legislators, we have been having meetings, and some of the things that we do is advocate for our district. We have a very low state aid because of the nature of what we are, and I think it's important that we, going back to our legislators and our senators, and continue that relationship that we have established, and we have benefited from tremendous support from our senator, from our legislators, and our local legislators. We also, what's also important in the school district, to analyze the use of reserves. Reserves is an interesting concept. You cannot have too much reserves, but you need some for the rainy days. So finding that perfect balance is essential. And if you have too much reserves, then you can be cited for it. So I think it's important to look at the reserves and really look at the reserves long term, say 5 years from now, and looking at all the reserves that we have, how do we use it, the amount used, the amount spent, and obviously, you know, what we put in reserves every year. So that's definitely a goal. The next one is something that I want to say is one of my favorite, because every day there is nothing more than I love to share all the good things that our students are doing every single day. If it's on the sports field, it's in the classroom, if it's outside, before school, after school. And the message is loud and clear. We have a tremendous student body. We have a tremendous community. We have tremendous support. And I think what's important is that we go out there and we share with the public all the good things that we're doing, that our students are doing. So when it comes to community, it's just promoting the work that we have going on in place. And working with the new public relation firm, we're working on the website. We are updating the website, making it very user-friendly, so parents and community members and students can find all the information in addition to all the social media. So those are the goals for the 21-22 school year. I want to take this opportunity to thank the board for their tremendous support. The creation of the goals is a process that takes place over several months, and I just want to thank the board for all their time to come up with sort of a guide for the year, and to have to thank you for the confidence that you put on me in leading the district and creating those goals that are beneficial for our students. So at this point, I don't know if the board members have any questions regarding the board.
Thank you. I mean, we're really looking forward to some of these initiatives that you have, and we're very confident that you'll be able to put some good things in place, increase our graduation rate, increase our scores, get more test participation. So I want to thank you for that. Does anybody else? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
The next business facilities report, which is the 21st Century Capital Improvements 5th presentation.
Yes. Okay, we've been talking about the facility presentation, the update, the bond referendum for a few months now, and one of the first slides that we had is some of the upcoming board meeting and the discussion that we have. And I just want to point that out, and again, this presentation will be posted on the website. When you look at the first presentation, you see the first slide, you see that a timeline that I was shared with the board and with the community, sometimes I believe in April, it was a few months ago, but it felt like years ago. We're following that timeline and we're staying on track, which is extremely important at this point. I cannot stress enough the fact that it's important to keep thinking about the fact that this bond is coming at the point where a debt service is coming off, and it's critical. The timeline is extremely critical for the success. So why do we need to introduce another capital project? And some of the most important thing is the efficiently thinking about our facility. Just like in your home, you don't want to wait to the last minute to do work. You always want to be proactive. So be proactive, be in compliance. This is a building, for example, the high school, that it was built in 1929. So a lot of the, even the rooms, they need to be put up to code and need to be, a structure needs to be revised and work needs to be done. And it's just the nature of this beautiful place that we have, that is almost historical, I would say, historical at all. Take advantage of opportunity. And also, one of the questions that I received talking to some community members is, why can this work, why we cannot do this in the budget? It's because you're dealing with the amount of a potential $30 million bond, capital work that you do is tremendous. Cannot be included into the budget, would be too much. If you think about that, that would be almost half of our budget. And you also, one of the main bullet, the last one, is creating an environment that is safe for our students, and also an environment that is conducive to learning. And you see that a lot of things are changing. The way we used to be in class 10, 15, 20 years ago is different now, and is going to be different 10 years from now. So we have to think of that. Why do we need it right now? Why can't you wait to another year, another 2 years? And the answer is simple. We have a debt service that is falling off. That's the reality of it. This was a debt service that is falling off because a budget was, because a bond was put in place when the gymnasium and the library was created about 15 years ago. So that's coming to an end. And just like at home, when you have a lease of a car or something, you have something that is coming off, and then you want to just replace with something to maintain the same level. Since the principal and interest will hit in 23, 24, it is important to we have that time constraint that is kind of dictating the timeline of this bond referendum. The interest have been low this past few months, and when you look at the payment that we are putting out right now, the debt service that we're putting out right now, the payment for the bond that we have in place, the bond that was placed in 2013, is about $1.7 million per year. The capital improvement project that the district is proposing at this time is $30 million, and that would be the same level of debt service that we have. So there would be no change in the debt service that we have, and that's because of obviously the interest that is extremely low compared to the past. The timeline is the December vote would have to be in place, and that timeline is also dictated by the fact that the state would have a certain approval time for the project. So if you have a renovation of a library, if you have an installation of a turf field, it requires some time to get approved. So we need to time it in a way that once the work is completed, then the payment is done, and then it goes into the books, and then the debt service would not drop. So obviously the work has to start on the summer 2022, and I have a list of pretty much work done that we worked with our architectural firm, a list of projects that need to be done at that time. And the list of projects is also dictated by the intensity of the project. So if you have a creation of a new wing, that would be electrical work, plumbing, structural, so that requires a little bit more time than, for example, the installation of a door, of the installation of a turf field, or the installation of a creation of minor work that is done. So that's also extremely important to keep in mind. The scope of work by school, I'm not going to read them all, but some of the pictures that I put there, you can see clearly is the Innovation Library, renovation of the second floor, and the front entrance is something that the board is seriously discussing at this point. So you have the library, the renovation in the back. That's one area that it was not renovated, and the one is a book room, another one is a room that is pretty much empty. So you have that this is the current space that we're talking about, and those are kind of renderings of potential work. Obviously, that's not the way it's going to look like, but once the bond referendum is passed, then we work with the architectural firm to get more details, and we will provide that to the community. So those are kind of potential ideas when we look at that work. The second floor on the front of the building is another area where we have 3 classrooms. They're connected, and this is some of the pictures, the way it looks right now. And the idea would be to go back and kind of expand that area and making a new learning space, so connecting the 3 rooms without changing the outside structure. So those are some of ideas of classroom of the futures, where students will work together, to collaborate together, having whiteboards, doing work, smart boards that they have. So those are some of the ideas. Included in that is also a broadcasting studio that I think is something that the students can benefit with the new, obviously, business program, part of the business program. It's something that we have seen in the past, students moving to the next level when they go to college and thinking about broadcasting, and it's an area that is expanding, and again, that's included in that. The current field that is up in the back, that's grass field, and the proposal is to have a turf field, and the turf field would have pretty much allow all the ability to play all the games, including baseball, including softball, I'm sorry, not baseball. The entrance is something that the board has been discussing lately. When you enter the building, this was designed to be the entrance of the gymnasium many years ago. Now, by almost default, it became the current entrance. So when you walk in, you would expect to see Oyster Bay High School, but you have the name of the gymnasium. So one of the ideas is to kind of recreate an entrance that shows that is the entrance to, one of the entrances to the school. And obviously the gymnasium is the Imhoff Gymnasium, and that name will be on the area. But that is becoming the center of the school. And I know that Ms. Lasher's office moved recently, so the main office is in the rotunda that we have over there. So you could see that was my first question when I entered, but I waited 6 months to tell the board why we have done. We don't have Oyster Bay High School. So that's something that the board is looking at. Vernon, we have a couple of areas. One of them is the creation of an entire wing, and that would be pretty much on the side. You see at the bottom when it says front of the building, that's way 106. So that's where the current basketball court and playground area, which would be relocated in the back. That's where the music wing will be. That's where I put the X. That's where it's going to be. And that's, again, renderings of rooms. There's also going to be a renovation of the current music room in the back. It become 2 classrooms, so we get more space on that. And that would be some ideas of potential classrooms. The other one would be the renovation of the Butler building, which is all the way facing the building to the right. And we have a picture of what currently looks like is divided into 3 sections. The idea would be to open it up and making like one building for the students. I think would be an excellent renovation. So we have different ideas. It doesn't have to be like that, but brainstorming at this point, but nothing has been done specifically. When we get to that point, then we will share with the community. The other one would be the new ground storage, which is up here. And that's also something that we are renovating. I hope you had a chance to go to Vernon. We have done a lot of renovation in-house with our own crew, which I want to thank. School board, under the school board, the flagpole, and the entire area. It really looks very, very nice. The part of the cafeteria renovation is to expand the cafeteria and renovate the inside. The cafeteria is original. I believe it was in 1960, around that. I'm not quite sure, but it's original, so it hasn't been changed. And, our head custodian, Vernon, maintains the building in top-notch conditions, but it would be a good renovation that will take place so the students can enjoy cafeteria. This is the way it looks right now, and obviously we want to make it more student-friendly, and I think would be amazing to have that. I think the students would be very happy. Roosevelt is the one that has the extension, and I took a Google map, which is a wonderful thing, so I don't have to buy a helicopter to take a picture of that. I can just go to Google Map. So the extension would be exactly where it is. So this is the new extension, and it would be right here. This is the football field, and this is the new playground. So just to give you an idea what it is. So the building this is right here. So the building would be right here, and that would be the extension. You will not see any change. You just see an extension of the building. It would be a two stories. And those are the kind of gaining of space that is necessary at this point. And I was talking to the board in one of the board walk that we had, and years ago they had the kindergarten extension that is almost something that is a necessity. And right now, obviously, with the with all the classrooms and the expansion and maintaining a safe distance, it would be something that would be extremely beneficial for that building. So those are the picture and how it's going to look on the inside. The administration building is just some regular maintenance, no pretty much bringing up to code and an upgrade on that. And in all the presentation, in all the list that we had, I'm just going to go back for a second. When you look at all of this, in red is part of what needs to be done because of the building condition survey. So every year, every 5 years, architect, the building administration, they will go around and they look at every item, of every square inch of the schools, and they create what is called a building condition survey, and it's almost like a checkup, a checklist. And that needs to be uploaded to the state, and all those in red, when you look at the presentation later on, all those in red, they must be done. Either you do it with bond or no bond, it doesn't really matter. That's a lot of work, and so we'll also take the opportunity to include that as part of our bond referendum. So when you look at the building, the timeline of the work, I'm not going to read it through, but you see that a lot of the work is dictated by, like I said before, by the type of work. So in this case, you have a turf field, front entrance. There is no plumbing, there is no electrical. So those are a quick turnaround from the state. Just like if you going for the town to ask for a permit, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less time. So that's dictated by that. We almost have very little control on what can be done at what time. So that's done over a period of 2, potential 3 years. So the work will start in the summer of '22 and will be done in 3 phases. And by the fall of 2023, everything should be done under budget and done very well. The cost, we have listed all the cost by building, so you see that is shy under $30 million. And again, those are all estimated based on the work and the estimate based on the project that they have, their architects have looked at it. Again, in structural infrastructure, so you could see that is kind of fairly divided in a way that we take into account the infrastructure and the educational advantage for our kids. And again, in red is part of the building condition survey. Our next presentation will be on October 12th. And I really want to take this opportunity to thank the board and encourage the community to really visit the website. We created a specific tab on the website so you can look at all the projects and all the presentations. We have been sharing with the community since April. We took a little break in the summer because people go away. Sometimes they're not here, but it's important that you go back, ask questions. Feel free to call my office, email me. I'll be more than happy to go over, explain, or if you have a meeting and you want me to share with you, I will not mind. I've been deeply involved into this project, and I think would be extremely beneficial for our students. I think would really help them learn in the right environment. I don't know at this point if the board has any question regarding the bond presentation.
So, do you think that the entire, all the construction will be done within 3 years?
Yes, we have been talking to the architect, and based on my past experience, done in 3 phases. Some of the work, some of the major work is done in the summer. So if you look at, for example, the extension of the building at Theodore Roosevelt, the bulk of the work with noise and everything done in the summertime when the students are not around. Then the internal work, electrical, plumbing, quiet work that can be done during the school is done throughout the fall. And then what will happen is when the building is ready, then they connect the 2 buildings. So
Now, do they build an inflation rate also for for the lumber and everything, since we're seeing that that's going skyrocketing recently?
yes, what they built, all those numbers have contingency, have construction design contingency, all different contingency in place. And that's done because of obviously escalation, inflation, all the inflation that we have. So that is done, and they know they're doing that based on the current market and based on the experience that they had with different projects. So we don't want to end up going for a bond with $30 million and then later on find out that the bond will cost 35. So that number is estimated based on all the contingency in place. If you, let's say you start digging and you find something that is unexpected, that's also part of the contingency that is included in that number.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody else on the board have any questions?
Dr. Yanni, do we think the term on the bond is going to be about 15 years?
Yes, at this point, we're looking for a 15-year bond. We're looking at all the interest right now. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I just think it's important for the community to recognize that, the current condition of the schools is not sustainable. And really, the only mechanism that the state has given school districts to finance capital projects is really through a bond, issuance of debt. And then the payment of debt over the term of the 15-year period is, increases the tax levy, but in this case, we keep the tax levy about the same as where they're at, right? So it's really a mechanism where it makes it more affordable for taxpayers, and then we're also limited, right, by how much we can increase the budget each year. So it's really a way to really budget for these type of capital expenditures that have to be spent at the local level. So do we have a sense as to how much state how much money we're going to get from the state in building aid for these projects?
I believe, I will get back to you, but I believe we are at the 10%, but I'll follow up on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's another advantage, right?
Yeah.
That we're getting money from the state.
It's also nice
Right.
that the interest rates are so low at this point. that
Exactly.
We're taking advantage of those low interest rates for the bond now.
And the other point to also take into consideration is the fact that because the debt service from the previous bond is falling off, if we would not, if the board, if the community would decide not to have a new bond debt service on, you were dealing with a fluctuation, and I included in one of my presentations, I believe it was the second one, you will deal with a fluctuation in the levy, causing a complete disruption in terms of the overall tax for the community. So you would have, when the debt service will come off, you would have a negative levy and then followed by a positive levy, and that would be devastating for the district.
Well, that could result in cutting of programs.
Correct, because you would have a negative levy, you would have less levy coming in, and when you think about the fact that we have about 5% of state aid, 95% is coming from the community. So when you have that kind of fluctuation in the tax levy, it will be an issue.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to the section for opportunity for the public to be heard on agenda items. In accordance with the open meetings law, school board meetings where school district business will be discussed are open to the public. The Oyster Bay East Norwich Board of Education welcomes public comment at its meetings. The Board of Education will respond to comments or inquiries in the appropriate manner. This portion of this meeting is designed exclusively for agenda items. A sign-in book is provided for those residents wishing to address the board. In order to be recognized, you must be signed in. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes. The board president will call you to the microphone in the order in which you have signed in. Public discussion is prohibited regarding matters relating to an individual's reputation, privacy, or right to due process, which in some way could be violated. A second commentary period is provided for non-agenda items prior to adjournment. We thank you for your participation and cooperation. Has anyone signed in? No? Okay. So let's move on to personnel actions. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby abolishes the position of substitute teacher coordinator based upon reasons of economy and efficiency as determined by the Board of Education. Said abolition to be effective close of business June 30th, 2021. Professional personnel. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the following professional personnel and civil service personnel resolutions as listed. And that goes to the middle of page 8. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Congratulations to Virginia and
Yep.
Alex.
Business action. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the following business resolution as listed. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Special services. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the following special services resolutions as listed. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. New business. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of the Oyster Bay East Norwich Central School District hereby approves the following new business resolution as listed. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now the opportunity for public to be heard on non-agenda items. Do we have anybody signed in?
Ms. Kowalski, I'm receiving information that it is 10%, the building aid that we received.
It was?
Yeah. 10%. Ms. Santos?
Oh, thank
You
you
were
very much.
10%, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni.
Okay, the first person to have signed in is Ms. Barbara Curry. Can you please come to the microphone?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear
Okay.
me? I just wanted to have a couple questions about an email I sent you last week. It was about the policy revision committee that was approved at the last meeting. And since policy drives the district, it affects students, taxpayers, residents. I was hoping that you could enlighten us as to which policies are under revision.
Dr. Yanni, sure.
So thank you. So in terms of the policies, we have not revised any policy yet. Pretty much every 3 months, policies are reviewed, and if there is any revision of policy that's presented to the public, so the public can comment on a potential revision to the policy. So if we have a policy, let's say, 75, 10, whatever policy it is presented to the public, posted with the agenda, and then at that point is red marked, so you could see, the community could see the changes. The board will go for first reading.
Mm-hmm.
A public participation, the community would be able to question or comment on it, and then there would be the approval of that policy. At this point, there has been no policy change in the past. Last one was somewhere, I believe, before July, I believe.
Okay. I was just wondering if there was a specific area of interest that was going to be under revision. No.
Not
Okay.
at this point.
So there'll be one reading before there's a vote.
So if it's an existing policy,
Mm-hmm.
there is a reading and
One
then
reading.
the approval. If it's a brand-new policy, there are 2 readings.
Okay.
And that's also included in the policy manual, which we changed a little bit. We have a link to the website.
Yes.
So we moved it to e-policy, so you can just type.
Yes. And the other thing that I was wondering is if the board would consider taking minutes at the executive sessions.
Executive sessions, we're not taking, there is no agenda in executive session, so there are no minutes taking in executive session.
They may not be, but there are nonprofits all over the country that take minutes at their executive sessions. It's standard practice. I mean, the open laws give exceptions to when minutes may not be taken, which implies that there are minutes taken.
So we're not required to take minutes in executive session, and the board can only convene in executive session for specific items. So there are no minutes taking unless the minutes are taken only if there is a case, 3020A. That's the only time that the board will vote in executive session. Other than that, there are no minutes and there is no vote in executive session.
But you can choose to take minutes.
At this point, I'm not aware of that. What I'm aware,
Yes, you can choose as a board to take minutes in the executive session.
I will have to follow up with legal counsel, but I don't believe so.
Okay, well, thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Thank you.
Next is Ms. Gina Weinberg. Can you come to the microphone?
Everyone, good evening. I know you guys received our email from Barbara and I regarding the lawsuit that's going on and formulating with Massapequa and Locust Valley. We sent a letter asking, I think the public should know that we are asking you to contact the letter, which I'd like to read, is asking you guys to contact the attorney and do your due diligence as a board to speak with the attorney and see what it's about. It was a free consultation. So I do want everyone to know what it's about. It's a legal action against the state. It's instrumental, I believe, and so do the parents behind me believe, that is instrumental to protecting the rights and local authority of the parents, the school boards, the taxpayers, and more. This legal action is not a masked versus not unmasked lawsuit. This is about our constitutional rights. The New York codes, rules, regulations codified as 10 NYC RR 2.60 will remove all authority from duly elected school boards. Moving forward, schools will now be required to accept any mandate that is premised on this regulation. The process of writing, amending, and appealing policy is overridden under this regulation. Amazingly, the Department of Health repealed and revised a regulation by unilaterally ignoring its own mandated procedure with no legislative oversight under the guise of a public emergency. As a result of this illegal action, all stakeholders will fall under the jurisdiction of an unchecked authority to adhere to any mandate the Department of Health sees fit. Moreover, as Department of Health officials are not elected, the public has no recourse to free itself from these mandates. A circle of superintendents is working against the interests of our communities and democracy, and I'm not saying it's you. I don't want you to think I'm accusing you. This really is a grave disappointment. The Board of Education does not serve as the pleasure of the superintendent, and it is paramount at this juncture to maintain your elected autonomy. We are imploring you to follow suit with fellow board members from Massapequa and Locust Valley that are leading the charge against this unconstitutional and undemocratic regulation. There is a small window for our school district to join, and what we're asking you is to do your duty. We're asking you as a board to abide, okay, by your due diligence and at least hear what's being proposed. I'm okay, no one responded to us. We've waited 6 days. And I think that even if you held a public meeting, maybe just to get, what people think, I understand joining, a legal procedure will cost taxpayers money. So maybe if we you held some kind of meeting, let the parents, let's talk about it. But I'm just curious, did any of the board members call the attorneys that are representing the school district? Because I am aware that other school districts are coming on. I don't have them yet. But I am aware that other school districts are coming on. As soon as I know, I'll be happy to email them to you and let you know. But, do you think it's possible to at least hold an open meeting and give parents a chance to speak about it?
Well, the complaint was just filed on Friday.
Right.
They do not have an index number yet. They have not assigned a judge yet. So what we would like to do is take a look at the complaint. We have not looked at the complaint.
But I do know there is a small window, and I'm not quite sure, because, obviously, I'm not an attorney.
But
so
we want to see, I know, but we want to see what was actually filed with the court
Okay.
before we make any decisions. We don't want to see anything that was just floating around. We want to see the actual documents that were filed with the court, and then we can take a look at it. But they were just filed, but I don't even think they have an index number yet, so it's
Okay.
pretty early.
Because the attorneys, obviously, that are in the letter that we asked you to refer to, they do, they obviously know what they filed. So did anybody even speak with them? Or
Well, we have our own attorney, so we trust our own attorneys to review these documents and understand what they're about. It's just a complaint. I think we can understand what the complaint is about, and take a look at it and make our own evaluation. But, since it was just filed on Friday, we'll need a little bit of time to do that.
Okay, and then I have a question for the attorney. I'm just curious how many,
She's not.
is the
Yeah.
attorney here tonight?
No,
No,
she's
you can
not.
ask
Oh,
her.
I thought she was, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how many school districts does our attorneys represent? I'm just curious, because I did watch the Locust Valley one, and I'm aware of 3 firms, and they all represent almost all of Long Island. As a matter of fact, the one that represents Locust Valley represents 61 school districts. Now, I am a little bit concerned because you have 3 law firms and the superintendents working together, right? They're hired by the school board, which is representing us. And what's concerning to me is if they've got their agenda to push, and therefore pushing something against our school board. So by shutting you guys down, they're shutting us down. Okay, so if we're going to listen to everything that New York State passes down, then what's the point of having a superintendent and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in all of these different districts when you can just hire a manager to come in and just dictate what New York State is telling you to do? Quite frankly, what's the point? If New York State is, You guys listen
Again,
to
I think we have to take a look at the complaint. I understand what you're,
Okay, no, I'm just, you know, and I get it.
we
but I
have to,
just-
we have to read what's on file. And I
Okay.
think, and then the board has to make its decisions. It's not something you take lightly. It is costly to the district, right? And you have to weigh that, what the result will be versus the cost to the district, and will it change anything? So, I mean, we have to reevaluate that, but the complaint was just filed.
Okay, because at this point, there's really no way getting out of it. I mean, once they start doing mandate after, we're just gonna keep doing what New York State says. There is nothing that they're putting in there for us to get out of any kind of, anything that we're doing right now. I mean, first it's the mask, then it's look at New York City. We follow New York City. New York City's mandating vaccine. There are children 12 to 16, as of today, cannot attend extra help, cannot play sports. They're being forced to vaccinate. Teachers are being forced to vaccinate. Here on Long Island, they still have a choice. They can get tested every weekly. It's coming down to it, and I keep telling everybody, I have businesses in New York City. I'm forced right now to make people show me a vaccine certificate, or they can't come into my establishment. To me, it's like, this is mind-boggling at this point. I mean, it's one thing to ask for ID, but now I'm asking people their medical. Now, they opened me up to liability, just like you guys now took away my right as a parent. You've opened yourselves up to liability according to constitutional law. I mean, let's be frank about it. It's the truth. Your attorneys may not want to believe it. That's why I asked you, could you call this attorney? Because they are bringing, the groups that we all combined under Save Our Schools, okay, they are being represented. We have several attorneys right now, and they're telling us that, we can technically, as parents, sue board members personally because you're representing us. I'm not trying to sound crazy, but I'm trying to warn you guys that by you guys losing your voice, we're losing our voice. And, I'm hearing, I call the school, I ask for my son to be able to pull his mask down while he's sitting at a table. I do it at a restaurant. I asked to put it on his IEP. I didn't get an email back. I got a call, okay, from one of, I don't want to say who, but I got a call. And, I'm being told, well, the teachers are just afraid. I understand the teachers are, they're afraid that any child pulls their mask down. Okay, so are we going on the fact, like, when are the teachers not going to be afraid? Majority of them are vaccinated, masked, double masked, triple masked, like.
Ms. Weinberg, can I just stop you for a second? I just want to point out one thing.
Sure.
Our teachers are not afraid. I'm telling you this. Let me finish one second.
Okay.
I want to tell you this.
That's not what I
Okay,
was told.
But what I'm telling you, as the superintendent of schools, you have an amazing staff over here.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Gina, let me finish.
No, I know. I
Okay.
got interrupted, but go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I have to stop because the minute you tell me that the teachers are afraid, we have teachers, when the rest of the world was shut down, our teachers were teaching here every single day. Oyster Bay was one of the only few schools that it was open and it was teaching. I'm proud of my teachers. And the reason I interrupted you is because it is not fair to say that our teachers are, so whoever told you that, just tell to call me, because our teachers are not afraid.
Okay. I was told by a principal, I got a call back that
Okay.
the
again, we're
special
not
ed
talking-
the
we're not-
special ed department did not, I'm not gonna, the special ed department did not want to send my email back, and I got a phone call that teachers were telling her that they were very, very afraid. Listen, my son,
I
he needed
understand.
to be here
I
socially.
want to be.
He loves all of his teachers. He really does. He told me so far he's having a wonderful time. So I'm not even going to argue that
Yeah.
point. And I would never say anything because
And-
I truly do. Listen, I've supported this community. I love this town. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love it here.
And I'll tell you one thing, that in the last 4 days, okay,
Right.
we had 5 cases. Not one person is quarantined. If we didn't have this,
Right.
okay, right now there would be hundreds of students staying home quarantining. So I understand
Listen,
what you're
and
saying.
I get it. And I didn't ask them, I didn't ask them to put, I just said, can my son, if he's having an issue,
Yeah,
well,
we-
and
yeah.
listen, I was told he could go out, get a mask break whenever
Yes,
he
sir.
wants. I said, that's fine. I appreciate that.
I just
truly
want to
do.
point that out.
But
I
to
don't
tell
think.
me
yeah.
that teachers are, and that was my concern. Teachers are afraid, okay, so are we going by Are the teachers gonna be afraid 2 months from now?
Teachers
4
are
months
not,
from now?
so let me,
So, you know, I'm on board, listen, I am never gonna say anything because this school has gone above and beyond. I have 4 boys,
Yep.
okay? 2 of them, 3 of them, you know, the third one will finish this, one of them finished at another school, okay? But 3 of them had IEPs, and the school went above and beyond for every one of my kids. So I'm not even gonna, that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying I can never put down this school district. But I am here to say, like, this is upsetting me at this point. This isn't about masking, unmasking. This is about how are we ever going to get out of this if the board is being basically, you know, I don't want to say, but between, the way it looks like for me, the attorneys and the superintendent's group, and then I'm not singling out our districts, but they are steering the school boards.
Wait, Ms. Weinberg, we can read the complaint, okay? We can understand
That's fine.
complaints, okay? You also have a couple lawyers on the school board who can understand complaints. So to say that we're being steered because we won't talk to one other attorney.
Well, is anybody on the
But
school board
anyway,
a
listen.
constitutional lawyer, really? Because that's really the issue here. Is any of them, like, you know, experienced in that?
We can read complaints, we can look at what the arguments are, and we can make decisions with our attorney. Now, first of all, you know, we've given you a lot more time because it is 3 minutes, but I understand it's an important topic to you, so we've given you more time. But we will take a look at that complaint,
Okay.
and we will evaluate it. And if we have any further questions and we think that there's something, we will do our due diligence and look into it. We can't make any promises about what the resolution will be, but it is interesting, and we will look at it.
Okay, and if you do feel that there is something, would you be willing to maybe hold a public meeting? So other parents, I'm not just saying, you know, other parents can come up and say, you know, and speak on behalf, like, open it up to the public and let everyone, you know, speak about it.
It's something we can discuss.
Okay.
I mean, I can't make a decision for the entire board. It's a collective organization, and we'd have to look at it, and we'd have to make a decision.
Okay.
But it's something we can discuss. I mean, we have no problem bringing everything to the public and having them discuss it and open it up, whether it's our board goals or all of our bond votes, any issues we have. We appreciate, seriously, we appreciate you coming up here and talking to us. We appreciate the interaction because we need to know what the community thinks. But we have to look at the documents. We haven't done that yet.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, now I guess that's the end of the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
have a good night, everybody.
Good night.